Have you ever wanted to be a cowboy in the wild, wild west? Well, HBO's new show Westworld is giving you an opportunity, but maybe there's a bit more than meets the eye in this crazy new theme park world. Eric, we got our first taste of Westworld in this past weekend's Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
HBO released an awesome new teaser trailer that is probably most people's first awareness that this show is even a thing.
Yeah.
It's based on the Michael Crichton movie, which is, you always keep joking that that Crichton must have had some sort of crazy theme park experience.
Yeah, I did not think positively of theme parks.
Yeah, instead of dinosaurs, it's androids messing things up. So we got this great new teaser trailer. What are your thoughts for this being HBO's next big sci-fi show?
I mean, I'm super psyched for this. I've been excited since they announced it was coming because, first of all, Jonathan Nolan is co-creator with his wife, Lisa Joy. She was a writer for Pushing Daisies and Burn Notice. Jonathan Nolan, of course, wrote all the Dark Knight movies and created Person of Interest. Awesome show.
Awesome show.
And then J.J. Abrams is the executive producer, so a lot of great pedigree on the show. And it just sounded right as an HBO show, right? It's especially we're kind of all waiting for what's the next Game of Thrones, especially now that we know Game of Thrones is heading towards the end. And this is such a big, sci-fi, big concept, big idea show. Westworld is a really cool movie. Yeah, it's got, some dated aspects of it, but it still conceptually really works. And so I've been excited since the beginning, and now seeing this teaser and some other footage we'll talk about, I'm really hyped up to see the show come together.
I am too, and I mean that trailer doesn't give much away in the way of story. It's
right.
Clear that it's set in this weird world. Evan Rachel Wood's character, you can see behind me with James Marsden's character. It's clear she's really the focus here. There's something going on, and it doesn't give everything away, which I really like. But I wonder, people seeing this for the first time in the middle of Game of Thrones, big episode 9 episode,
yeah.
always the big epic episode. I keep saying that over and over again, but it's true. The big climactic episode in every Game of Thrones season. Obviously a big gamble from HBO and a hard sell. But you actually did get to see an even longer and maybe more explanatory teaser at the Austin TV Festival?
At ATX, yeah. A couple weeks ago. Yeah, they did a panel that was actually for Westerns on TV. So there was people from Justified and from Hell on Wheels, and Nolan and Lisa Joy were there for Westworld, and they debuted this 3-minute or so sizzle reel, and they have not put it out publicly. I don't know if they're going to. It was really cool. And, first of all, it was set to Rolling Stone's Paint It Black, which has been in my head. I've been humming it ever since. But between what the footage was and them talking about it, I got a much better idea of the show. And I think the biggest difference, it's you got a hint of it in that teaser with Game of Thrones, but, the movie is about some guys on vacation at the theme park, and then the robot cowboys go crazy and start killing them. But the show is much more about the robots and what their existence is like, because they just think that they're the people that they've been programmed to think they are. And even the footage we saw at ATX it begins with this kind of interesting moment where Evan Rachel Wood seems like this sort of happy woman on the prairie, but this little boy says to her, "You're not real, are you?" And it's obviously he's a guest, and she doesn't know what he means. And it's kind of definitely getting into the what does that mean, and her investigation into that. Plus, it was super violent, the footage they showed. We saw a lot of, I'm forgetting the actor's name, Ed Harris as the Man in Black.
It's a crazy cast.
Crazy cast, Hopkins, him. We saw a lot of Ed Harris killing people, including series regulars, but then we see them again because they're robots, It's I guess spoiler for this footage, but again, it was shown at a public thing. He kills Thandie Newton, but then you see Thandie Newton again because it's that's the cycle. They're living this existence where they just keep dying and coming back. So it was really cool to sort of get more of a glimpse into this idea of the Who. I know it's a classic idea with sort of robots and whatnot, but I think this is going to explore it in a really cool setting.
Yeah, it's interesting because HBO sort of has this vacuum for great dramas. They have Game of Thrones, obviously, is a huge hit right now, but beyond that, its other big hits are Silicon Valley, are Veep. So I feel like people are waiting for whatever, even if it's not a fantasy like Game of Thrones, waiting for that next big genre show from HBO. And I'm curious if Westworld is that one. I'm with you. Jonah Nolan blew me away with Person of Interest. Obviously, his Dark Knight movies are great. I think there's a lot of potential here. But are you at all concerned that it might be too sci-fi? My reasoning being Game of Thrones sucked people in as
Right.
basically being medieval Sopranos, and then sucker punched you at the end with the fact
more
that
overt
it's
fantasy,
very,
yeah.
very fantasy. This is very open about its
Yeah.
sci-fi components. Do you think that people will come to it or be scared away?
I don't know. I mean, there'll always be people who, yeah, like sometimes you do have to kind of sneak in the stealth sci-fi thing. Even Lost did that.
And Person of Interest did
Person
that.
of Interest did that too. So yeah, this is way from the outset, the fact that it's like this theme park where robots, it's way from the start. I don't know that it's funny because Nolan brought up Game of Thrones simply talking about the fact that seeing Game of Thrones made him feel like A, it was the right time to do Westworld, and B, HBO was the right place to do it. And a lot of what he talked about was actually sort of the scope and the fact that, if you look at that footage of Westworld, it looks like a big classic Western. And he loved the Game of Thrones, shoots on location and these beautiful scenery. He really wanted to do that. So I think the sci-fi thing, yeah, it'll be a hard sell for some, but I think HBO coming off Game of Thrones might get more people than ever because there are a lot of fans of Game of Thrones, I think, who thought, I never would like a show with dragons, right? And now they're sucked in. And the other cool thing I think that makes Westworld interesting from the footage we saw and what they said at ATX is it's also going to look at Hopkins and Jeffrey Wright as the designers of the park and the people who are behind the scenes. And they said it's almost a meta, Truman Show thing because it's like the people who are an Ed Harris movie, but it's like the people who are like behind the scenes and kind of playing God, while these people are forced along these scenarios. So I think there's a lot of great stuff there. And then, as we've mentioned, the cast.
Yeah.
It's like Anthony Hopkins and Jeffrey Wright. I just said their names super casually.
Yeah,
but it's
usually like, oh yeah, whatever. Anthony Hopkins in this movie, these shows, no big deal.
Yeah, so I think that cast will certainly get people intrigued. Hopkins, Ed Harris, Jeffrey Wright, these are like heavy hitters. So there's a lot of really good selling points there.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Eric is very excited about it. We're very intrigued. It has a great pedigree, a really interesting premise, and we're hungry for more great genre on HBO.
Yeah.
But we want to know what you guys think about the first footage of Westworld that we've seen in this teaser, so let us know in the comments below. And for all things Westworld, fantasy, sci-fi, and genre, keep it here at IGN.